Hey guys, today I'm doing a power jack repair on an HP 15DY series. This is a little bit of a newer HP 15 laptop, and this one has the classic symptom of most of the other stuff that comes in here. You can plug it in and it's just a loose connection. You can wiggle it back and forth to get that light to come on, and it just is an inconsistent connection. It's kind of loose too, feeling when you plug it in, and after I did the repair, it's rock solid, really tight, and doesn't have any inconsistent charging issues. So the first step for this one here is to remove some bottom screws, and there's one on each side, two total for the first ones. And then once those are removed, you can remove the top little rubber bezel stopper, whatever you want to call that. And then there's three screws underneath that one that need to be removed. And the other little rubber stopper down at the bottom also needs to be removed, and there's some screws under there too. And the bottom one was a little bit peskier. The adhesive wasn't coming up very well on the rubber. And so now that those rubber stoppers are removed, I can start getting the screws out of there. And I'm still fighting the adhesive here to try to get that out properly. I just ended up kind of prying it up a little bit with a small flathead and then just getting that hole clear so I could remove the screw. And I'm doing the same thing here. I'm just trying to pry up that adhesive so I can get to that hole where the screw is. And now that that's taken care of, I'm just going to use my guitar pick pry tool. This is a pretty thin space in between the bottom case and the laptop, so the guitar pick is a really good choice for this one. So you just want to get in between that seam of the touchpad in this case and then the bottom panel. And you just want to go all around along that bottom panel to get those little tabs kind of recessed out. They pop out a little bit when you go over them properly. Just little tabs that hold the bottom panel down. So you just want to try and work your way around with that guitar pick. Try to get it to pop up. Once you get a little spot that pops up, you can put a little bit of leverage with your thumb and your other hand and kind of hold up a little bit while you continue to go around with the guitar pick. But any pry tool that's small and thin will work just fine. And these corners here were kind of tricky too. Once I got those corners popped up, it was much easier. And so that's half the battle with this laptop. And once you get the bottom panel off, you have access to everything here: the RAM, the SSD, the battery, all the internals that you might potentially want to replace. But in this case, I'm just going to remove the battery. It's always good to remove that, make sure there's no power to the laptop when we're taking things apart. And this battery just pops right up. There's no tab or anything like that. You remove the screws and you can just lift it directly up. And the next step here is the hinge is being held over the jack. So you want to remove the hinge screws so you can pull that up a little bit and have that jack, or get access to the jack. So I just take my thumb after I move those screws and just pull that hinge right up. Now the jack is held into place by two little plastic tabs, and to access the part where you unplug the actual cable, you just want to remove that I/O board cable on one side, and then you'll have access to it. And it's a lot easier just to pull it up through there before you do the little tabs here. So the trick I use here is I just take a small flathead and just try to pry this thing up a little bit. It's kind of tricky. You don't want to break the tabs, because if you break the tabs, then the thing will just be floating around loose inside the laptop. And sometimes it comes out really easy, and sometimes it's pretty tricky. So what I'm going to do here is take one flathead and pry up on the bottom to give it some force in the upward direction, and then take my other little small flathead and try to push back on those tabs at the same time. So it's enough to release the jack but not break the tabs. So it's pretty tricky, but you just have to play with it a little bit and just be careful. Don't give too much force on those tabs that you break them. And there you go. Now the jack's been removed. This is a pretty easy one to replace, relatively easy to get to. No soldering involved, just a cable style jack that plugs in. So now you have access to replace that jack. And this is what the connection looks like on the motherboard side. And here's a picture of that bad jack. You can kind of see a little bit of the break in that inlet there. And here's a picture of it all back together. A little charge light there on the bottom right. And this is the laptop all powered up, ready to go back to the customer. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good day. Leave a comment if you have any questions.